Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. It is going to be a special episode because guess what? We're going to be talking to veterans today. So I encourage you to go ahead and share the broadcast and tag every single person that you know is in service of some sort, that is giving selflessly to our country. They're going out and serving on behalf of our country. Many times that means that they're having to separate from their family members, their loved ones at home for months at a time. So I am really honored to have this episode today. Thank you all to our Freestyle Friday experts who are here today. How are you all?
Awesome.
Hello.
We're with you.
You're with me, and I'm with you, and our hearts are connected. And when I put this particular panel together today, I was trying to think of how can we help these veterans that are dealing with so many different things. And even if you're a family member at home and you're representing your veteran, this is going to be some good information for you to be able to take back to them in your pillow talk time and your writing of letters and things like that with your loved ones. All right, listen, we're going to get started right away. We have with us America's top foundational health coach, which is Dr. Dee Baer. Dr. Dee, talk to us today and tell us what you have for us.
Well, thank you, Kim, and thank you for putting this panel together. Thank you for thinking of your veterans, but we want to really focus. Thank you, veterans, for what you have done. And I have one saying that I would love for you to put up on the screen because this typifies, I have never served in the military, but I know many of my family members have, including my husband, and you're going to see a picture of him. I will say thank you, Bob, for not only doing the work that you did post 9/11 in Afghanistan when we were in the Afghan war as a consultant, but thank you for being a veteran, 3 times a service in Vietnam, 3 tours of duty, 3 Silver Stars, and 4 Purple Hearts. You don't do that if you haven't done something. And let me tell you something, this epitomizes, and as you know that Bob and I will be married 15 years in January. So this Vietnam was BM before me, before marriage. But I know that speaking with him, there's an experience that every single one of servicemen have and women have themselves and their families. That you said, we've got self-care entrepreneur, absolute amazing self-care Sharon. That's what I'm going to call you. And Natasha, who knows the psychology extraordinaire, speaking to us. And this is what this quote says, y'all. It is, shock is stress. Energy is healing flow. And we're going to repeat that.
And somebody type that over there. Say it again.
Shock is stress. Energy is healing flow. You see, I'm broadcasting here actually from the Panera Bread. Why am I dressed like this? Because that veteran, Dr. Bob Baer, that Captain Bob Baer, when he left the Army after going to Georgia Military School, he's got this in his blood. We are now the Grand Marshal and Marshaless of the Veterans Day Parade in Little Lake County. But, y'all know the villages are big, so I had to wear my glitter hat, and you'll see my wave. All right, we can do this as support. But, y'all, what does it feel like? Shock is stress. Energy is healing flow. What is it like for these veterans to go in and one day you're here and one day you're, as you said, Kim, you're gone from your family. That stress is not only the mental psyche, the emotional psyche. If you're a faith-based person, it is all 6 pillars that I talk about: the spiritual psyche, the social separation, and financially, maybe you're under duress. And we've all seen this tunnel to towers. And one day the wife answers the door and she knows the 3 men that are standing there. That's my husband. He ain't coming back.
That's right.
And that shock I cannot even imagine the experience. I know my husband has told me stories over in Vietnam where he spent he saved 6 of his members of his battalion, only 6, and they piled dead bodies together so they could be rescued. And that Christmas day, they ate beanie weenies and they were rescued. You don't know what you don't know. When he told me that story, we all know that Vietnam was not a popular war. After 3 tours of duty, what did my husband do? He came over back to Seattle and he took his medals with him, but he left his uniform in the men's room. He left it in the stall. Why?
Why?
He didn't want anybody to know that he was a serviceman because they defamed him, they abused him, they were throwing things at him for their service. So I'm going to say, let's connect. Let's be those connectors today. And remember, whether I don't care what color, race, religion, we're in this divine consciousness now in this world post-pandemic. I believe this. We all bleed the same red. It doesn't matter what aisle you're on, which country, what's your philosophy, what's your political structure. When I cut, I bleed red.
That's right.
And today I bleed red, white, and blue. So think about what can we do is this message of shock is stress, energy is healing flow, mindfulness. This is what we can take. As I told my husband, he goes, I really don't want to do this because I don't like to think about my service.
Right.
I says, let's think about the present. Because these baby boomers, this is the finest generation. In 5 more years, there'll be no one left of World War II. Now we move into Korea and Vietnam. Let's honor the present. Mindfulness so that you can be in that memory of the present. Deal with your past. Be mindful of the present so we can be prepared for our future. And I want to just take us through, it's not a whole movie thing, but I put together a little video, a presentation in PowerPoint that I know, Kim, you're going to bring up now.
I am, but let me do this real quick just to let everybody know that one profound thing that I think Dr. Dee Baer said is that we all bleed red. And so yes. I really want to I don't want to just brush past that because there are so many times when we're looking at race and religion and that, all of these different factors and elements. But when it comes to just this moment in time, yes. we all bleed red and we need to salute and honor. That's why I wore like red, white, and blue today. I don't know if you noticed that, but I want to salute and honor all of you that are serving in this capacity. We're going to go to this PowerPoint presentation because this woman right here is getting ready to be, there are people at pageants and they're, certain waves and stuff. She's going to be what when we finish the PowerPoint? What are you going to be doing today?
I'm going to be the Grand Marshal-esque along with my husband, Bob Baer. And you know what? He had his cadet uniform from Georgia Military College, and he almost can get it buttoned. 65 years later.
Leave it a little bit open like that, but he in there. Okay. Let me.
He's going to be showing his stuff, and we are in the villages. We're going to be doing the parade for veterans. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yay! Let me get you out of here. Go ahead. Let's go with your PowerPoint. It should be up on the screen.
Yes.
Let's see.
Veterans Day with remember and honor. And as you see these slides, I will say, and you can go to the next one, Kim.
Okay, and I'll keep it moving so you don't even have to
Yes, we tribute to the American soldier no matter what. That eagle is a bald eagle because of the service for you. Yay. This is my daddy. Who was in World War II. He fought against Rommel in the North African region. Why is this important to me? Because of the trauma, and they called it shell shock back then. The shell shock that he had eventually took his life at age 44. It took his life, and this is what I want to say, but your baby girl, daddy, is still smiling, red, white, and blue, and I am going to change into that dress.
You're going to wear that dress on the parade, so you're going to make it a pageant. You're going to make it a pageant.
They're going to make it pageant. So your daddy, your baby girl is smiling down on you during this pageant. This is my husband, Dr. Robert H. Baer, when he was first lieutenant going into Vietnam. This was his Georgia military paraphernalia, and he's almost got that jacket buttoned on today. That's what he's going to be wearing.
Bob.
Woo! Isn't he fine? Now, the next slides, I wanted to pay tribute to Anthony. The next one is my beautiful Malika. She is not only is her husband in the National Guard in Fort Bragg, but Malika is as well with their 5 children. You talk about shock and stress, keeping that all together. And I had permission from these beautiful soldiers because Randall, look at Randall. Doesn't he look fine? He said when he came back and he found me, he wasn't smiling. But we were able to do that trauma release as we talk about confidence tones going into that 21-day release with him. It made all the difference, and they know that I'm honoring them and the work that they have done post service. And Susie Q, what about you? Oh, my heart friend, she came back with cancer 3 different times. I was honored to help her get it into remission, and it was all because of the trauma that she served when she served in Iraq. So who do you know that needs that trauma release? And there you can see there's only one guy that's got gray hair. That is my husband. What did he do post service? Because I believe that servicemen and women, they always serve. He went back as a contractor after 9/11 to go ahead and do his psychological work in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Those are his students. You talk about trauma and amazing work. There he is, Bob Baer. Needless to say, he taught those young men and women that we all bleed red. And frankly, nothing can say it more than this next slide, Kim. Home of the brave and the free. And why is that? We can say we're brave, but we're not brave like they were. Unless you've done that, we're not that brave. No way. But we're free. I'm proud to be an American because at least I know I'm free. We honor you, servicemen and women. We honor you to be at all that you want to be, because do not forget, because when we forget our past, it's more difficult to be mindful in our present so we can build a better future. Let's do this together because we bleed red. Thankfully, because remember today, the red, white, and blue. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you so much for being here to share, Dr. Dee Baer. Listen, she is also getting ready to go get changed into that beauty queen dress and be one of the grand marshals, her and her husband, Bob, on the Veterans Day Parade in her town. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Sharon D. Brown. We'll be right back, everybody, right after this commercial break. Thank you, Dr. D.
Bye-bye.
My father had 4 of his fingers amputated in a workplace accident. It was the first injured individual I represented, and I knew I had to win that case. When someone walks into my office and they've been injured, I know what they're going through. If you've been injured at work with Hunter and Everett. We've got the experience, so let us help you.
All right, everyone, we are back and we are talking with our Freestyle Friday experts. Now, keep in mind in the studio audience, if you want to formally come in and share anything, or you want to ask a question or some comments, put it over there in the comments section. We'd be honored to be able to address things that you feel matter to you on Freestyle Friday as well. So, Sharon, how are you today? Sharon is our self-care expert.
Oh, I'm doing really, really well today. And again, thank you for having me on your show, and especially in honoring veterans. And one thing that I do want to say is that one thing that sometimes we don't think about, maybe a little bit, is the family of the veterans or family and friends of veterans. So I want to focus a little bit on that when it comes to self-care, because when family and friends of the veterans, they've become caregivers. And sometimes caregivers don't really get, I guess you say, all the glory that they should get. But if anything, they don't always get the care that they need. And so one of the reasons I wanted to focus a little bit on that is because when family and friends are taking care of themselves, of yourself, you're helping the veterans. And so by you pouring into yourself, such as having a regular, structure and routine when your loved one is stationed somewhere, and to be able to still have that when they return. Because one thing I want to say too, as it was mentioned about the shock, is that unfortunately, sometimes when someone leaves, they may not come back fully as themselves. So they may be something may be different about them. So by having a regular routine and structure for yourself as loved ones and family, that's going to help the veteran, the person who's serving, come back. And for those who's already served, and because sometimes too, it can be like years before someone may have any symptoms. And so, a part of self care is really learning all about veterans. And, we had mentioned PTSD was mentioned because sometimes it can be hidden. I would say hidden in plain sight. And sometimes it can be years before it manifests. And so by you, meaning the family and friends of someone who served, by you maintaining your health and mental health, you're going to be able to help them. And the point that I'm making with that is because the person themselves, they may not always be aware of what's going on with them or when changes occur with them. And it's usually family and friends who notice changes. And so this is another reason why it's important for family and friends to really pour into themselves, whether it's counseling, whether it's some type of coaching, but to have some self-awareness of where you are just by your loved one being stationed or had service in the military in the
Mhm.
past, and the changes that occur with you and your family. So again, by having a routine and having a structure, that's something that's going to help you maintain things while your loved one is gone and when they return, but especially when they return, because that's going to be so, so important for them, because again, they may not always notice when something internally changed. Most of the time, people just know that, oh, they just don't seem the same, they're
Right.
different. And so, again, it's really hard for loved ones as well as it is for the person who had sacrificed their lives for the freedom of our country.
I'm grateful that you're saying these things, Sharon, because I want to leave you front and center for a second and ask you this. If you're experiencing a person that's coming home, and I believe, I'm a big believer that you help people the way they want to be helped. So we
Mhm,
might have them come home and think we're helping them because that's been what the previous routine was like, and we're trying to keep everything the
mhm.
same and kind of uniform, and that make it an easier transition for them to come back home. But what if they are in need of some other kinds of things? How do we get that out of the person?
Yeah, the thing is to really be open and listening, to them, is to, I could just say, to be mindful of what you ask
Mhm.
of them. And you can say something like, how can I be supportive of you? How can I, sometimes when you use the word help, sometimes some people, even, nothing has to be going on, like, oh, I don't need no help,
I don't need
everything's
nobody's help.
good.
And let me put us in this view for a second, because Natasha, you're actually our mental health expert here on the Kim Jacobs Show. So feel free to unmute yourself. I know you're going to have your own points and things that you're talking about, but in chiming in on this matter, please say something if you like.
Well, I was just agreeing with what she was saying. It's right on point. I think we have to be aware that we come in with our own bias sometimes,
Mhm.
and we have to know if we can't tell somebody how to experience something they've experienced.
Mhm.
And so asking questions and being cognizant, like Sharon said, that they may not be the same. So if we try to put them back into the box or the routine we were in before, this is probably what we're all experiencing post COVID. A lot of people were rushing to get back to life as it was, but life will never be the same. So
Never.
we've had to adapt to life now post COVID. Yes, some things feel like they were before, but some things will never be the same.
Right.
in a good
And
way
some
for
things
some
shouldn't
things
be the
and in a
same
traumatic
because
way in some ways, right? So we have to recognize that experiences can create changes in us, and that, you know, there's a ripple effect. So I appreciate what you said, Sharon.
yeah, I do too. And some things you don't want them to be the same because they may not have even been working properly anyway. So some
Right.
change needed to happen.
Yeah.
But the new version of what needs to happen may not be necessarily as clear as it needs to
Mhm.
be because you're walking in the newness of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And when it comes to asking questions, sometimes we may not always, to be truthful, we may not always know what question to ask. And
Mhm.
so a part of family and friends kind of like, I kind of relate everything as a self-care. Like every move that we make is self-care.
Just walk around
And
a walking, breathing exercise all day. They'll be like, what are you doing? I'm just in the moment. I'm breathing.
And so, in saying that, like with your question, we can ask, you know, how can I be supportive of you, or do you need anything? But the main thing is to really kind of go in and observe and make adjustments. You know, make some adjustments. In the beginning, it may be the same routine that you had, or you may even know, like once the person is, you know, there, then it's like, okay, it's not going to be the same. But the main thing is to be mindful and intentional about what you're seeing and hearing, and really hear what they're saying, because listen to the stories. That's probably the main thing. Listen to what they're saying and then make the adjustments. And that's how you would know how to accommodate them in, I guess, just a new structure and new routines.
I love it. And then for me, being the balance doctor, writing a book on extreme balance makeover, how to have that better balance and focus and solutions for your life, I think it's important to have meetings with your family if you're coming back from being a veteran somewhere and then you're reacclimating and readjusting how things are going to look in the family unit. I would recommend just sitting down and having some table discussion, taking
Mhm.
notes so that you all know where we are at this journey or this juncture of our lives and within our family unit. And then just finding out what time does he or she want to get some rest so the house settles and things can get more uniform and is harmony and synergy in the house, so that
Mhm.
that way it's not like, okay, everybody's got the music going and the loudness and maybe everybody go to their rooms during that time, so that the environment is set for this transition of the veteran coming back home and feeling comfortable being at home versus feeling like I need to get out of here and go to a Starbucks or I got to get somewhere just to be able to have peace of mind. You want home to be able to be that peace in that safety zone and that safe haven. So trying to create what needs to be created in a home that works only for your home, not for everybody else's, because everybody's different. All right.
Not one size fits all.
Right.
Hmm.
All right. So in the studio audience, I see comments. Mackenzie, if you would pop some of those up for me. Let's see some of those. Again, it's Freestyle Friday, everybody, and we're talking today. We're just talking to some of the veterans, and we're also talking to family members of veterans and you that we all know a veteran, all of us, the whole world. So we're talking to all of you today. All right, let's see comments. Any comments that we can pop up? Let me pull some of those. Mackenzie. All right. Let me go back here and grab a couple of these. Okay, I see you, Mom. You said good morning, Friday, Freestyle Friday experts over there. And it's a blessing to see you all.
Good morning.
Tom Tom got on and said he was saying hello to Dr. Jody. She's on a parade right now, Tom. All right. Darlene said, dang, if I had known Dr. Jody, I would have drove down to Osceola Village just to say, hey, dang, if I knew she was going to be there. You might still have some time. I don't know if you'll get to the Grand Marshal front row with her in her pageant dress, but you can get on down the road if you can. Let's see. Let's see. Darlene says some hearts over there. I see CTR Media Network saying you can send some stars. And yeah, saying you can send some stars. You can send stars to the Kim Jacobs Show anytime, and it'll be right there on. It'll get to the right resources. All right. All right. Keep your comments coming in, everyone. I see you, Mackenzie. Good morning, ladies. She said good morning to you all. All right. All right. So we're going to take another commercial break, and then we're going to come back and hear from Natasha Halliday, our mental health expert. We'll be right back. All right. Listen, everyone that sees this commercial and tries the coffee, this is one of my episode sponsors. People love this coffee. It's infused with like 6 different mushrooms, mushroom. And so anyway, they love the coffee and then the black coffee too. Whatever's going on with that coffee over there, go to vproducts.store. Let them know the Kim Jacobs show sent you their way, but you'll enjoy the coffee. That's for sure. Everybody loves it. All right. And I also want to just put up too, if you're ever booking your travel different places, there's a site, kimjacobs.intellitravel.com. Feel free to use that as a site where you book your travel, because at the end of the day, it's a price match guarantee on there as well. So where you may go to, I don't need to name the other ones, just go to kimjacobs.intellitravel.com and you can book your travel there and get a price match guarantee. I also want to acknowledge our episode sponsor, Attorney Charles Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. If you're dealing with disability, wrongful death of a loved one, or any kind of workers' compensation claim, give them a call at 704-457-5000, 704-457-5000. Let them know the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. And they're in the Alabama, the Richmond, Virginia, and the Carolinas area. Now, if you're seeing this in a different country, you're not calling that particular attorney. Okay, you know that. All right, everybody. We're going to carry on with our Freestyle Friday expert, none other than Natasha Halliday, our mental health expert. Natasha,
Good
how are you?
morning. So we're talking about, it's Veterans Day tomorrow in Canada. We call it Remembrance Day. And the biggest thing when we look at the mental health of people who have served in wars, in things like that, is a lot of people experience post-traumatic stress disorder, right? So for those who don't know what it is, it's something that people can develop after experiencing an extreme trauma or being exposed to something repeatedly that's traumatic, and it results in different responses. So one of the things that I want to stress, and I think I've talked about this on the show before, is that our minds and our bodies are connected. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and he talks about how we have things that we experience in our body connected to the memories and the things that have happened in our mind. And I stress that because one of the things that veterans experience are flashbacks. So they have moments where they're pulled right back into a specific experience that could have happened 10, 15, 30, 40 years ago that can be very jarring. I've actually witnessed somebody who was a World War II veteran having a flashback in a hospital. And he was calling out commands. He was somebody who was in charge, and he was calling out commands because he's having this moment of being pulled back into this thing. So one of the things that I think it's really important to do is be aware of what, as you learn them, and unfortunately you have to learn the hard way, what are your triggers? What are the things that might trigger a flashback, or even just a memory that is difficult to deal with? And then how do you deal with that? So if somebody is experiencing a flashback or a really upsetting memory, one of the things we have to do is validate that this is a memory. This is something that I will experience, having these types of memories. Talk to somebody, doing things to orient yourself to the present. So if talking to somebody can pull you back into that present moment, do that. Talk to that person. Remind yourself, like I said, that it's natural to experience it, and do other things to kind of establish yourself back into your present moment, right? So in mental health, one of the things we offer when people are dysregulated, and really a flashback is a way to be quite dysregulated,
Right.
is to do grounding techniques. It could be things like holding ice. It could be things like, looking at something, focusing on something specific, but it's what's going to pull you out of where your mind has gone to pull you back into your present moment. And then I think there also needs to be that surety of those ways that you remind yourself and assure yourself that you're safe. If your flashback is bringing you to a moment where you're feeling that you're threatened or you're not safe, how do you bring yourself to that place of feeling safe again? And I think, for other people, there's that element of, so what happens when you're there present when somebody's having one of these moments? I know a lot of people panic when they feel they don't know what to do. So the first thing I really want to stress is do not invalidate what you do not understand.
That's good. Somebody make note of that too, guys. Do not invalidate. Say it one more time.
I said, do not invalidate what you do not understand.
Wow. And what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, the suck it up is one of the ways people have said things, but all the ways we try to just say it's okay, don't stop sort of thing. Because what we're actually doing is we're speaking to our own discomfort. We're not actually trying to bring comfort to them. And so I think it's really important that even if for a moment you just sit and be still with them, that might be less distressing than saying something that's challenging, right? But what about using simple words like, I'm here, you can talk to me, reminding the person that you're present, right? I would suggest that if you have a loved one that is having these type of experiences, is that you start to develop your toolkit so that you, as the person outside the experience, can also help bring them back to the present. Whether that's, certain phrases that might work, certain steps that you take that are going to help do it, but start to learn what your role can be, and just be that reassuring presence, because it's really tough when people don't know what to do. And sometimes I think because people panic when they don't know what to do, they scramble and they do things that might not be helpful. But even so, as an outside person, I would say also be ensure that you calm yourself. You don't have to have every answer. Nobody is going to have every answer to everything, but take a moment, take a deep breath yourself. Remind yourself that if you've been through that before, you got through it before, we're going to get through this again, and I'm going to be present. And I would really stress, don't try to fix. I hear people, as a mental health expert, a lot of, how do I fix this? We are not machines. We cannot be fixed the way you fix a machine. So sometimes you need the grace of just being present to allow a moment to pass, or to have that way of just providing assurance. That can be more healing than coming at somebody with this way to sort of fix it that ends up invalidating their experience and makes it more challenging.
I totally agree with everything. If you're in the studio audience and you're hearing these points and you have any questions, comments, please go ahead and put them over there, because this is great advice. I see it said do not, and I actually typed it running on together because I should have let Mackenzie type it. She's in the back. But anyway, do not invalidate what you do not understand. Natasha Halliday is saying that point. That's a very profound point. And I see you, Cynthia Lennox, as well, and making your comment. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for sharing the information you're sharing, Natasha, she said.
Yeah, because I think, veterans can often experience post-traumatic stress disorder. They can experience mood disorders, depression, bipolar. Some veterans struggle with, substance use disorders. And a lot of this stuff is about coming out of trauma. And if you think about, especially World War I and World War II, but even looking back to maybe Vietnam, those were not necessarily times where people were recognizing that there was so much trauma from these experiences. So support wasn't provided the way support might be provided now. And so if you're dealing with somebody who might have come out of living in years, think about how awful we found COVID. And we found it awful because we didn't get to go where we wanted to go. We didn't get to go to the gym. We didn't, some people,
all these people passing away was horrible.
All these people passing away. Imagine now watching violent death over and over again. And this is where I go back to that idea of the body keeps a score, because you can hear it in a moment when you're not in it. That's your body replaying it. And that's why we have triggers sometimes, because one of the things that the brain does is the brain's always scanning to keep us safe. So by scanning to keep us safe, it looks for anything similar. So if there's a noise that sounds remotely like a noise that happened when you were in the midst of that war, your brain might just freeze and go to that response of what you needed to do in that moment. And that's why I said do not invalidate what you do not understand, because somebody who's not experienced war may not understand what it's like to have random sounds trigger you into this moment of flight or fight that your body goes into response based on those triggers. And unfortunately for the veteran, they can't predict all those triggers. They don't know what sound is going to be similar. They don't know what, image on the screen. Think about now with the way in the age of media, what image might come up on their TV screen one day that might just pull them back into that moment. So I think it's really important to, from the outside, the three things I say: support, validate, and be present. Those are the three things.
Support, validate, and be present.
Yeah.
Support, validate, and be present, everyone. Let's type that. Support, validate,
and be present. That's what I suggest for the loved ones to do, to support their loved ones who are experiencing stress related to having been in a war or some kind of, quite traumatic experience like that.
Okay. Wow. Now let me also give you a chance too, Sharon, because it's, again, everything she's saying, it goes, I know you're over there like, put this back in a panel format, because it goes back to self-care as well. So talk to us about anything that our mental health expert, said that really collides with your self-care topic.
Oh yeah, they definitely go hand in hand, because I'm like, oh yes, most definitely, especially again when it comes to family members, is when you're taking care of yourself, when you may need to ground yourself, because of what you're observing, with your loved ones. So this is where, and again, if anyone who has been following me or have seen me on the show, there's the 4 pillars of self-care. It's that self-awareness, sitting in silence.
Wait. We're going to type these. Self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sitting in silence.
Sitting or centered?
Sitting.
Sitting in silence. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Deep rest.
I might have to put my glasses on. Sitting in silence, and then deep breath. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then movement and action.
Movement in action. This is really good. Okay. And this is Sharon D. And so go ahead, say what you're saying, because this is some good stuff here.
Yeah. And so with that, when it comes to family members and friends and loved ones, when you are self-aware of what's going on around, where you can say, okay, what do I need in this given moment in order to support my loved one? And I kind of call that, to be able to have that social sacred of space, to be able to create that for the veteran, because when you are grounded, then that's going to make it better for the other person. And again, just like Natasha just said, in that no one knows when a trigger comes. And this is why you could say a part of self-care is educating yourself. Because again, just by knowing that someone has served in a war, even if you're, I want to say, even like newly dating someone or in a relationship with someone, maybe just a few years, but they have served in a war, they may not have any symptoms of PTSD, and some may never develop it. But I would just say, just be aware, because it can be years before someone, develop any of the symptoms, or you see the symptoms, because sometimes people may experience it, but they may not say anything, and it may not be visible. But the more that you learn about, I just say at least the gist of it, the more you can prepare, and it's kind of like being careful too of not that self-fulfilling prophecy. We're not trying to anticipate anything, but also to be prepared forward. And so, again, it's just really important for loved ones to ground yourself, to do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself so you can create those social sacred moments for your loved ones.
Yeah, and people don't know what, like you said, people don't know what they don't know. And I think you said that,
Mm-hmm.
Natasha. So sometimes I can't tell you something that I don't even know I personally am even
Mm-hmm.
going to experience, or I think I even have it because I don't think I have it. And so you can't be like, oh, I'm a PTSD survivor. You're like, I didn't even know I had that. So now we're in the picture frame. And so all we can see
Mm-hmm.
is ourselves from this perspective, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the other people observe and be like, something's really different. And we need to get
Yeah.
this person out. But then on the receiving end, because we're just having a conversation here, on the receiving end, people are not always willing to receive the feedback
Mm-hmm.
that you give. If you say, especially if you have that person's best interest at heart, Natasha
Mm-hmm.
and Sharon, like I know personal situations where I know I have the person's best interest at heart. Period. I love the people with all my heart, and I may see something, and I say, "This is what I'm seeing," and it's like, "Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
You should see you." You like, oh, that did not go well because they do see something in me that I don't see. So now it's the
Mm-hmm.
time of putting you back in your place, and it's like that's not what that was about. So somebody
Mm-hmm.
speak to that for a minute. You try to help. Now, I hate the word try. Okay, you know that you are providing some valuable information to the person based on you loving the person, and I'm giving
Mm-hmm.
you some get some kind of support, whether it's from me or anybody else, but get the support you need because you need some support, but it's
So
not received.
I'm going to speak to that and I'm going to go straight like psychology, mental health stuff that I've learned. So one of the things that we learn when we're studying psychology and mental health is the stages of change theory. And so stages of change theory is often used with substance use, but it's really valid in many areas of life. And it's the idea of understanding that we go through stages of actually being aware of, accepting, and moving into change.
Mm.
And so what's important as a clinician is doing an assessment of where they're at so that I can respond based on where they're at. If I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't even recognize there's a need for change, or will look at it from maybe experiencing trauma, doesn't even know that they're traumatized.
Right.
Me coming at them with how to deal with the trauma is not going to work.
That will never work.
Right? So if I come at them and I ask questions that might help them see that they might be experiencing trauma, they might be more open to that. Maybe not, but it's understanding that because sometimes in our desire to be helpful, we bypass where they're at.
Mm.
And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things I learned, one of the first fundamental things I learned in mental health was meet them where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
I
Because
believe in
otherwise
that.
it's a power struggle and it's a battle. Right? So it's a start. Sometimes it's just opening the conversation to see if they're even willing to explore that this is something that might need to be dealt with. So I see what you're saying, Kim, about you can bring in observation. And what you might do is bring the observation and see, what do you think about what I observed? And if they shut it down and say, I don't see it, that's not me, then then it's not time to bring me broach that.
Under no circumstances.
Right? If
Right.
they flip it back on you, you really know they're not ready because then they're just gonna make it your issue, right? Because some people do that. It's so hard to internalize what they're hearing about themselves. They flip the script to make it about you,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
sometimes people might say, yeah, I have noticed that, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can advance the dialogue to what do you think that might be about?
Hmm.
And
That,
then you can have a back and forth dialogue depending, and it because part of the thing is we always get more buy-in when there's insight,
Mm-hmm.
right? When somebody,
when those insights happen, yes, I agree.
it's hard to have that buy-in. So yes, we know from the outside we might observe things and see it's so clear to us this might be what's needed. But if the person who needs it is unaware, we can't shove it down their throats. It's
I love
really
it.
important to assess where they at, because sometimes in our own anxiety of what we feel they need and desire for them to be better, we push that agenda really hard, but then we hit a wall.
Mm.
And we're much more effective when we try to meet them where they're at.
And Sharon, I wanted to ask you too, from a stress level of family members or caregivers, in that perspective, what thoughts do you have on how to minimize your own stress when you are dealing with someone that you feel is that you have advice, and like you said, they're not at that particular phase to accept it, but how do you minimize your personal stress level, because it's like it can raise your blood pressure, it's like woo. So how do you deal with that from a self-care
Yeah,
perspective?
yeah, definitely at the moment when it comes to that is to be mindful of where you are and whatever you have in your own self-care toolkit to go ahead and use those things to pretty much decrease that stress level. And then also along with that, because sometimes it can really become a power struggle because it's like it is a not only apparent to you, the loved one, but it's apparent to everyone around except for the person who's experiencing it. And so, in a situation like that, the loved one may need to seek some professional help to help them really deal with it because. Honestly, it can be really, really hard. It can be hard on families. And I also want to point this out. It was said that the person can be unaware. And I want to point out that there's a difference to being in denial and unaware. And kind of think of unaware, and you may remember the word Natasha, is because I can't remember. I can never remember the word, but there's a word in mental health that means unawareness. And it's pretty much like if somebody hit their head and they're bleeding, everybody see that they're bleeding, they're getting up and just want to go ahead and continue to do, but they can't see it for themselves. And so that happens.
It's anasagnosia, lack of insight. It's anasagnosia. I don't know the word. Y'all know it better than I do, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
that's what it's
that's it.
called.
I don't think I
I was
even know
never
that
able to
word. I
pronounce
might have
it.
missed that day in school.
You were at home on that day at school. You're like, wait, what? It's on the Treatment Advocacy Center. It's called
Mhm.
ANOSONGNOSIA. And it's called like a lack of insight is a severe mental illness experienced by some people that have a person's ability to understand and perceive his or her own illness.
Mhm. Yeah, and so
Anazog. I mean, you know how you say Bologna? It's not. I'm saying it. It's not. You're supposed to say baloney versus, but it's spelled Bologna. I don't know what I'm saying over here. ANOSOGNOSIA.
yeah.
Anosognosia. Go ahead, carry
And
on.
yeah, and so just in saying that, is that the individual may be experiencing an unawareness in which that can be very challenging for loved ones as well. But just know that they don't even have the ability to have an insight because denial is more, they can kind of see something that's going on, but they're not accepting it. And that's kind of like the difference between the two. Even though they're both can be equally difficult and challenging, when it comes to loved ones, but when it comes to, caregivers, family members, and everyone, in the sense that be mindful and intentional of your own self-care, do the things that you need to do that you have in your toolkit so that you can decrease that stress, because when the stress is there, sometimes you're not thinking yourself and then you become reactive, and then it can again become a great power struggle. So this is where your own self-care is really, really, and that kind of goes into what I call the solo sacred space for you to create for yourself.
That's a great insight that you're sharing that we can all benefit from. All right, listen, I'm just gonna put this up one more time. Whatever that word is, it's
Yeah,
called a lack
that's
of
so good.
insight.
That's a new one for me.
That is so funny because you like, girl, you well educated over there as the mental health expert, right? You like, I think I was home on that day at school, right? So anyway, this came from the Treatment Advocacy Center, and it's important because a lot of people are experiencing this, and I'm not looking into it statistically right now, but it's good to even know. I didn't know it even existed. So thank you, Sharon, for that. We're going to take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to have some closing comments from our Freestyle Friday experts and how you can stay connected with them. We'll be right back right after this break. I think we're taking a break, but let me take us to a break. Okay. All right.
Why learn about health
see back
when you can experience it? Experience it in beautiful Florida in February 2024. Join us for 3 days of integrative and intensive health and healing education and empowerment with the expertise of the following Healthopedia author, speaker, and facilitators. The world-renowned homeopath and acupuncture physician, Dr. James Marinakis, 4-decade health coach and holistic nutritionist, Dr. Dee Baer, and others such as Kimberly Meredith, Dame Doria Cordova, Rex Sykes, Dr. Gary Sanchez, Jamie Kerr, Serena Brown-Travis, and more. Experience daily morning walking and yoga, interactive participation, panel discussions, and more for your own epiphany of health. Get your tickets now.
All right, everyone, we are back, and I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation with our Freestyle Friday experts. So thank you all have provided some tremendous insights today. So thank you so much for being here. I would love for everybody. Let me let you know just a couple of things that I have a group training that I'm starting on teaching people how to start a virtual show from scratch. And the way that we do it is universal. So you'll be able to have it in video, audio, as well as where you'll be able to stream it to different countries and different platforms as well. So I want to make sure you know about the training. I have 5 seats that's available, and it gives you an opportunity to work from the comfort of your home to learn how to actually create your own show. You own your own content, so I'm simply coaching you, but there are 4 other students along with you in the class, and it's an interesting dynamic to hear people give you feedback on your show. So it's quite fun. So the next class that's coming up, if you want to know more, you can email me, kim@thebalancedoctor.tv, or you can reach out to me here on the social media platforms. But we have 5 seats for that. And if you want to work one-on-one, you can always go to kimjacobsconsulting.com, and I'll put that information as well. The other thing I'll let you know is that the only way that this program even thrives or survives is through community contributions. And we're able to get balance, like we're providing these experts here, to your home by being able to have the show come on Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in order for us to continue to do that with you busy moms and women that are wearing a lot of different hats, and you're trying your best to figure out, how do I get to the other side of my circumstances, my situations? This is a way for you to be able to tune in, hear wonderful guests that help share their backstories, and then some strategies and tips on how to be able to move forward to your new destiny. You can reach out and just Cash App us or PayPal us or whatever way works best for you. But thank you for your support. All right, closing comments from our Freestyle Friday experts.
I can start. One thing I didn't say that I just want to stress, there is a difference between traumatic stress and PTSD. And sometimes we use PTSD very much in our language. And I think that's actually how we invalidate sometimes the experience, because we experience seemingly minor stress and call it PTSD. So I think we should be aware of language, use of language. And just a reminder for, those experiencing, veterans who are experiencing mental health concerns, get the help you need, whatever that looks like. There are professionals who can help. It's a tough thing to go through, and we can't just walk that off. Sometimes we want to just think we can wait it out. We can't necessarily just wait those things out. And for the loved ones of people experiencing that kind of mental health stress, like I said, be present, validate, and support.
Excellent. Thank you for that. How can people stay connected with you, Natasha?
On my social media at Natasha A. Halliday. So NATASHAAHALLIDAY. That's my IG. That's my LinkedIn. That's what else? That's my Facebook. My IG, LinkedIn, Facebook is at Natasha A. Halliday. Or you can get in touch with me through my website, www.natashahalliday.com. So that's www.natashahalliday.com.
Okay, so there's no A in the actual website. So it's NatashaHalliday.com. And then social media, you add the A. So Natasha, NatashaA, Halliday, HALLIDAY, because we have a lot of audio podcast listeners as well. So that's how you stay connected with our mental health expert. Tell them how to stay connected with you, Sharon, as well. And then tell us a point.
Yeah, for myself, you can contact me or stay in touch with me at IG Live. I'm talking about IG Live, that too. With IG, I am Sharon D. Brown. And also, too, make sure you go there to get the 555 Wellness Boosters. And these are just pretty much different things to help a person stay connected with themselves. And it's in that compass of the 4 pillars of self-care. And again, when it comes to family members, it's to do those things that you can do to create and cultivate solo and social sacred spaces, for yourself and for your loved ones. Because the more that you're taking care of yourself to decrease that stress level, then you're able to support your loved ones and to be able to really see and hear and give them the support that they need.
That's good. Okay. All right. So listen, you all connect with her on Instagram. She has videos. She has the services that she just shared. And so she does a lot of things over there on Instagram. I am Sharon Brown, Sharon D. Make sure you know that D is in there. I am Sharon D. Brown. All right. And so I also want to put up how you can stay connected with Dr. Dee Baer, even though she's on a float right now at a Veterans Day parade. So you can stay connected with her by calling her at 800-820-0584. Or you can also, let me go back again, 1-800-820-0584. You can go to Dr. Joe D, DEE.com, Dr. Joe, JODEE. .com. I'm making sure I'm not saying too many E's. drjod.com, or you can email her at jod@healthcoachjod.com. All right. And you can connect with her at healthcoachjod on Instagram. All right. That is how you can stay connected. You can also go and subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show YouTube channel if you haven't already done that. My children say, Kim, Mom, you have to ask people to subscribe to your channel. I was like, oh, whatever. Okay, so if you want to subscribe, go over there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of our videos and things are housed there so that I can grab it and stream it to the countries that we stream it to. We stream through CTR Media Network in 100 countries and 350 million households over there. So go subscribe if you would. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. And we will see you again Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, our experts.
Bye.
I love you guys. I love everybody. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for serving. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard